Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks very much for joining. We've got a slightly different format of webinar this week. We're going to show you a couple of things, but we've got a first question, just as a reminder. On Monday, the 12th of November, is the GAN board meeting in London. We have a session in the afternoon from 1 p.m. until 6:30. And we're wanting to make sure people have registered correctly for entrance to the event. So if you have people in the UK or that are traveling in specifically, if you can please remind them to go to the GAN website and register for the event, as we need to organize the entry tickets for JP Morgan Security. So the first part covered away. We'll have a quick look here. We had your feedback last time from the different tools, and we have discussed this morning with the Asia, Africa, and European webinar. We had added in the feedback as well. Basically, we are moving along, and we've understood that we can be a little bit hard and being slightly pushy in how we're asking for information and what we're doing with it. But we can actually report now that this is leading to a good reply. We're getting some traction definitely on the campaign, and we are having some proper interest from the whole of our groups to make this really interesting. Focus weeks are still set at the same dates here. We were confirming again this morning with Kenya, who were active in the session, and there doesn't seem to be any changes that we've heard about. And to align as to where we're getting to, we've got these section of webinars today. We have some more on the 19th of November, and we're getting quite excited now as to how we're going to be running our launch event, which is going to work a little bit more around the world, and we are planning the details of how that's going to connect with a virtual participation for different people at different times. So, for our planning and sharing, we are going to be at the International Labour Conference tomorrow, and we're explaining again our progress of what we've done so far with all of the networks, our members and partners, and how we're actually moving along. So as we had a bit of a challenge for you, we're able to report back quite nicely that these different networks are really progressing and have provided quite a lot of information as what they're doing. We've got everybody else doesn't seem to be doing very much, but since then we found out that a few more networks are actually working on things, and they're trying to get us the details for the end of the week. We have our main partners of ILO and IOE as the public partners. They've actually supplied their plans, so we know what's going on there. Accenture and the Adecco Group have also provided their plans and commitments of what they're going to do for the campaign. And we've got three more networks who are actually partly organized and in progress of what they're actually like to do. So the challenges out there, these people will be highlighted quite nicely tomorrow in front of everybody else, so we know where we're getting to. So if you have plans, if you've even got the first draft, the high level one, if you can send it over to us today, we can make sure this is actually updated and reflected correctly tomorrow when we're discussing with the world as to what we've done.
Neil, sorry, can I quickly jump in? This is Menno Bart speaking. Good afternoon. Hi. Just a small tip maybe, or it might be my own sensitivity, but I think in terms of membership engagement, calling them bad guys, I see what you want to do in terms of naming and shaming, but I'm not sure it's the best strategy of calling people bad guys when they are your own members. But that's just a quick in-between remark. Sorry.
This is the whole idea. That we're having some fun with each other. We're also joining on and encouraging a bit of peer pressure to see if we can actually really generate this. So for its main tips at the moment, that's what it is. As a public facing, when we go out and we're telling the world, then yeah, no, we don't go around mentioning them as bad guys. Okay, so moving on from there, we've had a deep dive between all of the plans and the steps that people have actually been mentioning to us so far what they were going to do. This has not been updated with the most recent ones I received this afternoon. But the general flow so far, these are types of activities which different groups will be performing during the year. It can be seen really as a sort of like inspiration. So if you're a little stuck so far with what types of things that people have been committing, you can see a list. But also if you wanted some ideas as to how you as a member company could also get involved, different types of things which may be possible, these are options that we've seen from different groups that are offering so far. The main one on the right-hand side here, the social sharing amplification, this is sort of like the minimum that we could possibly think of, so that your corporate accounts that you have, the foundation accounts, the CSR public affairs types of accounts that you have from your companies, they could go around and start sharing some of the tweets and Facebook posts and LinkedIn articles, liking them, joining on, just so that it connects across the social networks and everybody is seeing it's not just one voice saying the same messaging. There is quite a bit of traction from a few of these from different groups that different networks which are interested in doing a similar idea. So to help them out, we are changing the direction of where the webinars will be going after launch, so that they become a bit more of the clinic option. And this will go around and show tips and tricks, live sharing, helping with configurations of things to make sure that we're measuring what we're trying to do, but also we're making sure the content is available in a way that people can use it, and making sure that the way of, say, hosting a YouTube channel is consistent, where we can actually make this happen. So for today, we thought there wasn't much more that we wanted to tell you that the members and things are doing. We have, as we're saying, trying to work out a little bit as to the options for these types of clinics. So we've got a quick poll for you, which I can launch now. And you can pick and choose out of a few of these as to say the 4 that you'd like to see a little bit more of, and we can show you the types of things we're actually talking about to the networks. So don't be shy, let's have a quick vote. Okay, I'm looking for like another 3 more votes. 2 more. Okay, there's 1 left. There we go, right. So, let's share the results. They're going to have to pick 2 out of random. It's always great. You go around voting and you end up with all sorts of fun things. Okay. So, if I can make my computer work correctly. So, for YouTube, then, the type of thing we were discussing a little bit this morning, where this was an interesting subject. We had 2 different use cases for YouTube. We have a network that's just started getting going, doesn't really have any social social equity at the moment. And then we have a network which is running and has been working for a while and is reusing its federation accounts for how it actually wants to function. So looking at the clinic idea, we will be discussing in a session there as to what are the best ways of using the tools to fit with the impact and the audience you already have, extending the reach, working with the tagging options to make sure that the videos are correctly attributed back to the GAN, so that we can count the numbers correctly for our million conversations metric. These types of things were discussed slightly. And we then wanted to sort of reinforce the idea that once YouTube was set up in a different network, then there are lots of different things you can do with it and keep reusing it. It will feature in the video competitions. It can be featuring other people's videos. We can add in stories and sector limits as we went along. And it was really picked up that this was a sensible way of proceeding, so that there was a little, but we could actually be quite powerful with what we wanted. So if there is, in yours, we're hoping then your social media teams, if you already have a YouTube channel, would also be able to put any apprentice videos that you might have for yourselves, or details as to how you're handling work-based learning into YouTube, so they can be picked up by other people, but also promoted in a similar sort of way that we're doing, so we can feature them correctly on the National Network Weeks and in general as pieces of content when there's quiet periods during the summer. Any questions on that one? Okay. So apprenticeship day was another one that came up. So we've got then the social versions as well. There was a couple that were talked about with some of the groups. We can see that there are a lot of the networks already quite proficient on social media using. What we're encouraging them to do now is to start doing the cross-pollination between each other's tweets and likes, so that we can get a bigger global impact with the same sort of stories. So where we have, going forwards, the use of a standard set of social media cards with our 9 key messages on them in the 3 different languages for the GAN. These can certainly be used as imagery to get going, but then when there are local events being run, when there are stories which are newsworthy for a region or for a lingual group, this type of information we'd like a lot more sharing. So again, here, if there are opportunities within the way your social media teams operate with either listening tools that exist at the moment or some other sort of automated process, then these are things that can be done for sharing again, retweeting, and that will generally help us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also on YouTube when we have comments happening for different videos. We do have some tools which are linked inside the playbook, which we've been talking about, the follow-unfollow strategy, and there are some browser plugins that can be used to grow the number of social followers and the influencers. And with the GAN family, which is the naming we were coming up for, a group of main influencers from companies and their own ex-staff, we'll be giving them briefings as well, so they become primary users for sending this type of social communication out again, amplifying what messages your members have said, but also the networks have said themselves. So we have some details that we've been preparing for a few other groups that have asked so far as to how to structure posts on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we're also considering Instagram going forward. This type of info can be shared and will be this is part of the playbook at the moment. Where the membership actually has their own social media policies, and obviously those would apply because it's the corporate account you're using. Again, if there was anything you're stuck with, there's no reason not to follow what we're actually suggesting. So, social media, we have apprenticeship stories then. This one? Yeah. Okay. So for the apprentices, again, this is a need that to make the campaign humanly consumable. It's seeing the real face of an apprentice, their real words as to how apprenticeship and work-based learning is actually changing what they're doing. The role of the apprentice stories is around removing the stigma about apprenticeship. So this can be people which are new into the organisation or new parents which may be considering apprenticeship, as to what apprenticeship can mean to them, how they can actually get into an apprenticeship program. If they are previous apprentices and now working inside your organisation, what apprenticeship helped them with, how it leveraged their chances in the workforce, how they got involved really heartfelt, clear pieces of video just to go around and show what's happening, and all testimonials that are written so we can make a bit of a story. So where we have the video competition, that's certainly a way that this is being open to the world. We're thinking where members have the capacity, they can take the apprentices they actually have and really have good quality film, good quality storylines. It's well written, it's consumable by people, it has sound bites in it, good photos. This is all really what type of content normally that you would see would go into your annual report, creating shared value, corporate responsibility type information that you'd be sharing. So you may be able to recycle some of this from existing locations, or when you're moving forwards on these for next year, bear in mind that there is a bit of thought before you start the editorial system that can pick up at the same time. What we would tend to do with this afterwards then is make it available in the native language it is for the country it responds to, but where we've got it at a global level, we can share these around as well. We'd feature different elements of this in advertising and hoardings that we're discussing, where there was one member group that was suggesting in their different shop fronts to use digital signage featuring some of the apprentice photos and some quotes from them, just to show that it really is something that the company thinks of daily and is available on the high street for people to actually visit. So any of this type of information is possible. We haven't had a specific signed up case, but it is a plan that we've heard about from a few people as a suggestions of what they will do with it. So if you'd like to volunteer as a first one, please let us know and we can pop you in, and then we've got somebody to liaise back with as to forming these words correctly for when we actually start running the track.
Yeah, Neil, if I may give a quick reaction to this. First of all, a very practical point, which is that the sound quality is a bit on and off. So we haven't been able to follow every single word that you said, but now moving on to the content, I think everybody on this call is, of course, convinced of the value of having real life testimonies from apprentices. I mean, real people on social media are, of course, always the best in terms of engagement and in terms of telling a story. So I think, at least when I speak for our company, then our challenge is not knowing that fact or even thinking about how it should look like, but it's about some practical limitations that even we as a big company face. I mean, first of all, we are a big company, but we're also a very decentralized company, which means that we cannot just go from HQ and say, okay, we will now organize this on a local level in 3 different countries, and they just have to make it happen. No, we have to go via each of our country organizations. So there's a little threshold at each of those countries.
Yep.
Second of all, of course, the practicalities of recording video. There's always a cost involved there. Because you have to get a video crew to the actual location where the apprentice is, or where you want to make it happen. And I mean, it's none of this is impossible, obviously, but on the other hand, that does mean that there is a bit of a, it needs a bit of work on our end, and that's also why I was wondering what exactly how you envision this video competition, because is it something that the apprentices themselves can engage in? And then if so, how do we ensure quality of both the images and the sound? Or should the companies play a role in that, in professionalizing that? And in that case, how do we overcome, for example, the cost aspect or some of the other organizational aspects?
So if we can take them as 2 different parts to start with. So definitely we understand with the a number of the member companies working as decentralized groups, so that the country managing director has the final say on where budgets are going, and you've got a local public affairs group or communications in the country, which as well as the global one. Normally, the key message about apprenticeship would come down from the corporate level, and then the countries are implementing as best as they can. But definitely, budgets are difficult for that, so it's a coordination. Where there is a possibility of having multiple members in the same country, there may be a cost sharing aspect that can also happen. So understanding you may need a video crew if you want really good quality things. If we've got 4 or 5 members in the same country, why not have one video crew which is part funded a fifth by each one, and therefore it limits the exposure per company, but you get a much bigger return on what you can actually do with it. That would handle it one way. There is no reason that all of the video pieces or the testimonials themselves have to be super high quality. It needs to be consumable enough that it's not full of background noise. So obviously shooting something in a quiet room makes it a lot easier than having it out on the street. But this is taking it as real life. It shouldn't be a problem. So there would be a creative limit as to the type of video or radio show podcast idea that you would actually feel comfortable with as a company that to put your name to. So taking that in mind, it's as to whatever you could actually feature that would actually fit within those limits, but at the least complicated on both time and money to actually make that happen. For the video competition itself, this is going out to be open to the public. So it's not just for the companies. Now, companies and their own apprentices, obviously, we would like to feature all the member companies where we have apprentices, because this really shows that we're not just here for saying it happens, we're actually showing we are doing this, and it is much more credible in the human eyes. But the groupings for apprentices, it's open to apprentices that people are looking to apprenticeship. They currently are an apprentice, or they've been an apprentice before. It's grouped by industry sectors, so we have industries which are also not inside their general membership. So say carpentry and electricians, we have apprentices of those within Switzerland, UK, Germany. It's open to this sort of level as well, because it is the whole dynamic of apprenticeship, not just the ones for member companies. We're asking people it's a maximum of a minute sort of video. There is a size limit of 330 megabytes, I think it is, physical file size for the video upload. But we're suggesting, yeah, you can film it on a normal camera, you can film it on a mobile phone, as long as people can hear it and it can be seen. These are the types of quality we can actually go for. We have done some tests with different networks around the world, and some members participated for showing, yes, we can film video in these locations and upload it. And it's in the platform, it works well, the sound was clear enough, so that we're confident technically that it will actually function. And having it done or making it as simple as possible for the end users and people on the ground means we get a better chance of actually having enough video submissions to justify the objectives we have for the campaign at the moment. So does that help at all?
Yes, I think so. And I think it's still just an ongoing discussion also internally for mostly the global members. I mean, I see your thoughts on how this could work on a national level, but then on a global level, we'll still need to think about how we can actually make this happen, and how we can, what added value or what, no, not added value, but what additional incentive this campaign might be for us to create such a video or something like that. So, but thanks.
Yeah, so it's all part of self-promotion, but also just self-promotion with a twist that we are supporting the mission of the GAN. So myself, as I'm an employee of Accenture, we can we like video. We can do a lot with video. We have video studios that can do things all around the world. Video is a really good way of telling the story and getting it out there in a consumable way. So as a pure marketing thing, it stands better than just a piece of text. So most people will actually spot it. You can read. If you have subtitles overlaying it, as we see on social media, then you can watch it in silent mode if you're traveling. But it's something shareable and easy to consume. So as a marketing idea, video seems to work quite well. But again, it's whatever you can take from these different options that fit with each company's own needs and also the business value they have. This is what we're after. So a discussion of these are different operations and possibilities, but it's not mandatory that we get videos from everybody. That's not how we do things. Okay. So I seem to be losing my World Apprenticeship there. I'm either going blind or I deleted the slide by mistake, but we don't have all about that. The world's going to the National Apprenticeship there. So the world be here we go, the World Apprenticeship there. So this is one of the main events we will be having for the campaign, and it is running on the 11th of June. We will be having a theme going forward. The theme for the first one is under discussion at the moment. We've got a couple of ideas, but we haven't decided exactly which one we're going to choose so far. And as details appear, we'll actually explain this to everybody as well. The concept with it being the same theme for everybody in their local languages means we have a consistent message, and we've got something to actually build on per year, and then we can recycle this as we go along to show that we're building from a group of objectives that the GAN has to actually achieve something which makes sense for the people we're aiming at. As the main things we'd like to do is just really refeature the materials and things which we will make available. So these will be printable posters, flyers, there'll be social cards, etc., that can actually be sent out. And if we've got a possibility of running events in networks, then we can do those as well. But it's more just creating the buzz around the event on that day, and that we'll be heavily using the social we've got across the GAN properties and the networks with our own. All of these, of course, we're going to go around and track all the measures. So as we start progressing in the campaign, we will have a bit of a measurement framework that we'd like to try and use, something simple that shows this is the baseline, and with messages that we're sending out to different places with standard hashtags, how much traction and engagement events that you may be participating at or hosting as well, so that we can just update our global numbers each time. Okay. So if I can find that.
Hi, Niall.
Yes.
It's Jeanette from the ILO. I just have a quick question about branding. When we're producing, or when our colleagues at the national level engage in producing these short videos, these testimonials, in terms of the branding, are you envisioning, the branding, the GAN logo alongside the ILO logo? Will everything, I guess, for the campaign include all the corporate logos? Or what were your thoughts on that?
So the simplest one was, yes, the GAN logo on everything, and where possible, adding in a partner logo, so member ILOs, local member logos on there as well, whichever is the source of the content, so that everybody gets the sort of recognition that they are really part of the one group. When we are doing the bigger events, and when we're actually running these things, when we've got multiple partners coming, then yes, we will be going around publishing all of the logos that are included in there to show that it is really a cross-group function. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
And we have artwork, the actual logo files for most of us, but again, it's one of the things we're going to go around and do a check when we get a little bit closer to the first time we start using them, to make sure we've got the recent logos, the correct logo guidelines that different brands have for the placement of things, how close they can be, if we need lockups between the GAN logo and other member ones, or if they can be separated. That type of stuff is all hopefully it's something that you have as standard communications groups, and should be able to forward across to us so that we don't go around and start causing trouble accidentally.
Great, that's very helpful. Thanks for that clarification.
No problem. Where possible, we've noticed when we've tried doing some of our test social media pieces, having single color logos variants works a lot better in black and in white for overlaying on other images. So if there is already a restriction with company logos on that, would it be nice to know, because it will help us just align as to whether we put a box over the bottom of it to have the logos. Yeah. Good, so if we can see this one, there we go. So we're reminding all the networks again this morning. We're going to remind them again this afternoon that we keep sending our plans, and we can be aligning them and sharing them to everybody so we're aware of what's going on. We're trying to do that now, as you've seen a little bit with the guides, that knowing who is trying to do what, so we can make sure that we've got a targeted group of people that are interested in these things, so we don't have to harass everybody, and you can participate to the different sessions which actually make sense to yourselves. So if there are any more details you'll be having soon, please share them, and we're going to be able to make these published a bit more on our Playbook website so people can find them and understand what is going on between the different countries and the different member events, because there may be something that we've not seen as an obvious relation between places, which can help us with our global impact a bit more. All of them again about the way we were discussing with yourselves last time about how to get global messages across, so they've got some understanding of the types of things we've been asking. And as we move forwards with the next webinar, we're hoping we can actually start mixing and matching corporate the networks with the members at the same time, so we're actually in a conversation and we can have conversations directly with some of the network people, if that would make some sense to the networks where you're present. There we go. Must have those ones. So again, this is our current listings of where you are. I haven't received any more updates in case there was our records weren't quite correct, but if you can let us know, that will be very helpful. We do have the new members of Zurich Insurance and the Society of Human Resource Managers, which are coming online at the moment. We haven't had a clear explanation as to which countries they will be operating across. So we're looking for that information, but we're explaining back in the ILO that this is there to be confirmed in their actual global presence. And then finally, for today, if you haven't actually created an account yet for our Playbook website, so that's on the GAN website /Playbook, please sign up so that you can get access to more of these details as they arrive and the refinements we're doing to our social cards. Again, as soon as you have any sort of ideas as to the sorts of things you could provide, if you've got a group of events that might be happening in your business that could possibly feature a slant on apprenticeship, please let us know and we can see if we can put these into the calendar together. We're very welcome to go around and make it all happen with people. And later in November, I think it's not next week, the week after, we will be running our final set of teasers ahead of the launch for the 5th anniversary date. We'd like very much for each of the members picking up if automatically in your listening tools and see if you can actually send out retweet or comment or both. If we can get any engagement from your teams on the message, that will be wonderful, but otherwise the more we can promote it around to people, the better. Cool. So I don't have anything else to add for today. If there are any other questions, I'm very happy. Please, I'm available on email as well for one-to-one discussions to just clarify any points. That's not a problem. Again, the idea with the webinar and the recordings is to go around and share this to people who haven't been able to be present in each session, so that everybody is up to date, and we will put them onto the website again. So, any questions? Okay. So I have a question that actually goes back to everybody on the call. We didn't send out a feedback survey for the last webinar, and for some bizarre reason, the recording did not seem to work, so I do apologize as to that. Was the amount of communications and things you've had in between the two webinars a reasonable level? Have things calmed, or are you still being bombarded by email communications this busy time? Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, thanks a lot. We'll continue with the webinar then on the 19th. We look forward to seeing whoever is able to actually come to the board meeting in London next week, and the event that we'll be running there around apprenticeships in the UK and how things are changing there. There is a cocktail in the evening, so I will definitely be there for that. And if you don't hear from you in between, have a great time. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Neil, can I actually jump in as a final question?
At least you're still there, no, that's good. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I just wanted to ask you. So we've seen, I think we have 6 participants on the call today,
Yeah.
and last call was about four maybe.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what you are doing to reach out to the other members in between these calls, because I think in the end it's important to ensure engagement from these other partners, and if they're not on the call, just sending another email is important, but might not be the only thing that that ensures the best result in the end.
So we have been trying a number of different avenues. So because there's unfortunate timing with the board meeting as well, that there's a lot of people that communicate with everybody. But we are making phone calls. We are doing full one-to-ones. We are some people are on WhatsApp with us as well. Available on the sort of regular basis is not working as much as possible. The board meeting itself is one of the topics we are wanting to discuss a bit more, to see where we're getting to with the ramp up of the participation, because we do have some core groups, but we are lacking the uptake from quite a few others. So this is certainly another avenue we're taking. We've got a captive audience there with the relevant people that can sort of make a decision that it will happen or not. But one thing we are looking for, if there is any way that each person that's actually joining here knows the other people on the list, either through different connections, different initiatives you're doing. If there's a way you can actually chase them for yourselves and say, you're missing out on the information here, and we're trying to make it a larger impact. Please participate. That would be a key way of sort of like the member gets a member involved inside the campaign.
Right, that makes sense. Thanks very much. And
great question. If you have any other ideas as to how to do this, apart from me traveling around the whole of Switzerland and grabbing people, and then traveling across to the States and grabbing the other groups of people we actually need, we're sort of running out of creative ways of engaging them.
Nothing particular, except that I will make sure that my colleagues in Belgium and France know of this, and yeah, hopefully get engaged as well.
Well, definitely on the Adecco Group side, there is a lot of dynamics with Belgium. The team there, which are from the UGAN network in Belgium, are very connected. France, we understand they're busy, specifically this week because of the National Apprenticeship Day, which is happening on Wednesday. But I think Alexander has also been in contact with the French side as well, keeping them posted, and certainly internally in my company, we're able to use our internal channels and reach out to people that we know are in different networks as well. But from the member point of view, we have one focal point and we have the communications focal points, and this is a dedicated group which aren't always present in all of the networks.
Right, sounds good.
Okay. One of the other ways we're also using is the IOE includes the details of the webinar coming along. We do these other reach outs, outreach events that we're having in the ILC this week, and when we're actually on other conferences, we're actually bringing this in each time, advising potential new members, but also influencers where we are, including them in different conversations, different partner organizations that we have in Costa Rica that we're actually discussing as well. And we're seeing some people in London next week after the board meeting, which are in some of these alliances, to actually grow a bit further. But they have some contacts to companies as well, so we're hoping we can use them to sort of also suggest that they do a bit more together for the course of the game. But yeah, if we've got any other way, contact between the groups, we're happy with the email address that's been shared around. The follow-up points should have all of our main contacts on there. If you know that any of these people personally, then please reach out to them. That will be the best way back. Okay, so any other questions, or are we all finished for today? Right. Well, thanks all very much for your time. Lively conversation. And yeah, look forward to seeing you, whoever can turn up next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.